From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is U.S. Farm Report.
Welcome to U.S. Farm Report. This weekend, we are on the road from the 2025 Milk Business Conference from Las Vegas. And here's what's in store over the next 60 minutes.
And what you've been able to do is open those markets up and again, move toward an era where our farmers are not so reliant on government checks.
But more farmer payments could be on the way this year. We'll tell you when. It's not just grain farmers grappling with oversupply and low prices.
I mean, if you look at 1 year ago, milk prices $22, $23, and right now the Class 4 futures curve in the 13s. That is well below cost of production.
And too close to home, a new case of New World screwworm is dangerously close to the U.S. What you need to know. And celebrating 3 dairy award winners who aren't just revolutionizing the industry. They're poised to help the U.S. dairy industry grow. And no dairy farmer would be what it is without its valuable employees.
He's always looking out for the farm and for everyone, and in the animals too. Meet
one special employee who says the dairy isn't just a job, it's his family. Now for the news, the dairy industry is wrapping up 2025 in mid-change. Milk production is up and prices, those are down. In fact, Rabo Research senior dairy analyst told producers gathered here that booming milk output in the U.S. and other major exporters is tipping markets into oversupply and signaling tougher price terrain heading into early 2026. He called it a wall of milk that's building across global dairy markets, as you can see in this graphic that shows it's not just the U.S. looking at an oversupply situation.
I mean, if you look at 1 year ago, milk prices $22, $23. And right now, the Class 4 futures curve in the 13s, that is well below cost of production. So it's a clear market signal that we have enough milk right now in the U.S.
So how did we get here? He says last year's profitability helped set the stage for the current supply levels. Meanwhile, he says the herd is now the largest since the 1990s, which is roughly 30-year highs. And the growth in cow numbers can also be attributed to profitability last year, plus beef on dairy economics that are incentivizing that growth. And for the cattle industry, the concern over New World screwworm, well, it continues. This week, APHIS confirming a new detection in Mexico about 120 miles south of the Texas border, marking the northernmost active case currently found in Mexico. It was spotted in a 22-month-old bovine transported from Veracruz. Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller, in a news release, emphasized that Texas remains free from detection, but state officials and agriculture leaders cannot be complacent. And in Spain, the military has been deployed to try and contain an outbreak of African swine fever. The country reporting 9 cases in wild boar near Barcelona, marking the first cases in the country since 1994. Officials putting in place a more than 3-mile exclusion zone around the affected area, which is close to a major road that links Spain to France. Farm Journal's pork editor Jennifer Scheich is closely following the outbreak.
There are no known cases of ASF, in the area, and so they suspect that the wild boar ate a contaminated sandwich at this park, according to Reuters. Spain is also one of the world's largest pork exporters, and so that has the country very concerned, as about 1/3 of the country's pork export certificates have already been blocked as a result of this outbreak.
Pork farms within a 12-mile radius of the initial infection site are facing operating and sales restrictions. And here at home, avian flu is once again impacting commercial and backyard poultry flocks. As of this week, USDA is reporting outbreaks in just under 100 flocks in the last 30 days, impacting more than 1.3 million birds. Since the outbreak began in February 2022, APHIS says nearly 184 million birds have been infected nationwide. Next week, that is when Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins says the Trump administration will announce a so-called bridge payment for producers. The aid is designed to provide short-term relief while longer trade deals are finalized. The secretary speaking at a White House cabinet meeting earlier this week about it.
And what you've been able to do is open those markets up and again, move toward an era where our farmers are not so reliant on government checks, but they have the markets to sell their product. Having said that, we do have a bridge payment we'll be announcing with you next week, as we're still trying to recover from the Biden years.
To help the farmers. We're going to help the farmers. They did not help the farmers.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
The U.S. government is already expected to spend more than $40 billion on payments to farmers this year for ad hoc disaster and economic aid, which would mark the second highest amount since 1933, according to Reuters. Well, shares of Bayer surging earlier this week after the Trump administration urged the Supreme Court to take up the company's bid to limit thousands of lawsuits relating to the Roundup weed killer. The U.S. Solicitor General putting his support behind a Supreme Court review of one case, saying Bayer was correct that the federal law governing pesticides preempts lawsuits that make claims over the products under state law. Bayer, in a news release, saying the support from the government is an important step and good news for U.S. farmers who need regulatory clarity. Bayer faces over 67,000 lawsuits over Roundup's alleged cancer risk. Roundup is among the most widely used weed killers in the U.S., but the company has threatened to withdraw it from the U.S. market as it fights the litigation. That's it for the news. Well, one thing on farmers' minds right now, what's going to happen with fertilizer prices? We join Chip Flory for Chip's Corner from the Ag Retailers Association in Salt Lake City next.
U.S. Farm Report is brought to you by Pioneer. Plant with confidence. Plant the #1 corn and soybean seed in the U.S. Pioneer.